Am I the asshole for hiding the soda? I feel ridiculous for even posting this, but I need objective eyes on this. Background: one husband, two stepkids, 15 male, 17 male, married 5 years. We keep separate financial accounts if that makes a difference, and we alternate who buys groceries week to week. Anyways, here's the deal. I don't drink coffee. I drink Mountain Dew or the occasional energy drink for my morning caffeine kick. My husband and the oldest stepson are both coffee drinkers. With increasing frequency, I'll go to grab a drink out of the fridge and all of the soda and energy drinks are gone. The kids have taken to coming home and grabbing 2 to 3 or more sodas, and before they left for their mom's house last week, the 15-year-old was actually packing a 6-pack into his backpack to go. The obvious solution, I thought, was to buy more soda. Yes, I know it's awful for the kids, but if their dad isn't stopping them from sucking down junk food, it's not my deal to intervene. Good point for you. Yes, you are correct. Nope, still gone to where I look for the fridge for one single much-needed energy boost and nada. So I started asking my husband to pick up soda or a few energy drinks on his grocery shopping week to supplement. His response was that he's not wasting money on garbage like that and to complain about how expensive things like Mountain Dew are these days. Then tell your kids to stop drinking hers. Simple. Like, okay, you don't buy it, fine, don't buy it, but tell your kids not to take your wife's shit. Next tactic was to ask that if the kids drink the soda that they please leave a few behind if it's obvious we're almost out, so I have at least 1 or 2 when I go to grab one. This is where things took a turn for the worse. My husband got irritated and said that I was policing the food and that no one who lives here should have to ask permission to eat or drink. Really, dude? You gonna pull that shit? Ugh. Fine. I figured if I wanted to have a Mountain Dew or energy drink for myself, I would just put a little mini fridge in my office and stash a few in there. I got a tiny fridge that holds a 6-pack and pops a few in there. I put the cases I buy in my office and put a week's worth in the main fridge at a time so they last until I shop again. Okay, so you're putting some, like 6 in your own little fridge and you're still putting a pack in the big fridge. Yesterday, the 15-year-old complained that there hadn't been Mountain Dew in the fridge for a few days, and my husband grumpily said, "Go get them from your stepmom's office. She's hiding food and snacks from you guys in there." What a piece of shit. At this point, I put my foot down and said I'm hanging on to some of the drink that I like every week because otherwise I don't get any. And if everyone else drank what I put in the fridge for them before I shopped again and my husband didn't want to buy any himself, that's just too bad. My husband still refuses to buy the soda himself, but is convinced I'm being a complete and total jerk because I'm hiding what I purchased. Am I being completely oblivious to my own asshole behavior here, or is this as lopsided as I think it is? Nah, your husband's psycho. What the heck? He's not wasting money on garbage, but he's perfectly happy for you to spend your money and not even drink your own soda. So, nah, get out of here.
My boyfriend and his friends trapped me in a house and assaulted me. Disclaimers did not my story time, I said I mean Instagram. I met my boyfriend in college last year. We had the same class, and during class I would always catch him staring at me. At first it was a little creepy, but once we started talking I realized how charming he was. One day he came up to me and just started asking me about where I was from, and right away I got these butterflies in my stomach. He was really attractive, and I could tell that the girls in our class all looked at him a certain way too. He asked me out on a date and I said yes, but when some of my friends found out that I was going on a date with him, they started telling me things. One of my friends told me that there was a rumor going around that he had assaulted another girl. I just couldn't picture him being that way. He didn't seem capable of anything like that. Later on that day, I got a message from another girl telling me the same thing. And when I asked for information about the girl he supposedly assaulted, they told me that they didn't remember her name. That apparently she just left school after it happened. Part 2 is up. My boyfriend and his friends trapped me in a house and assaulted me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. After I heard about the rumors that he had assaulted a girl, I asked for evidence and nobody had any. Nobody even remembered the name of the girl, so I decided to go on the date with him. He took me on a picnic and at first it was really nice. He had asked me what some of my favorite foods were and he brought them all with him. He brought hummus and cherry tomatoes and chips, but 5 minutes into the picnic he grabs me and kisses me. Now I'm not saying that I didn't want to be kissed, I just didn't want it to happen so quickly. And he didn't even ask me for permission, which looking back now was the first red flag. After that, he couldn't keep his hands off of me. I never said no, so he just kept going. He kept touching my shoulder and my legs, and he would lean in and kiss me every now and then. By the end of the day, I was into it. The rest of the relationship, he was always a little bit aggressive. He never asked me if I wanted to do anything, he would just do it. A week after we started dating, he introduced me to his friends. One of them jokingly asked my boyfriend when it was his turn to take with me. Part 3 is up. My boyfriend and his friends trapped me in a house and assaulted me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, I said I mean Instagram. That's when one of his friends asked him when it was his turn to take with me. And although he was joking, it was disgusting. My boyfriend laughed though. He thought it was so funny. Mind you, this is the first time I'm ever meeting his group of friends. After that, there were a few incidents. On one occasion at a party, one of his friends forced me to dance with him for 3 minutes. All the while he kept grabbing my waist and my butt. Finally, my boyfriend came back and I told him and he just laughed. Another time we were at the beach and one of his friends came up behind me and undid my bikini top. Essentially, I flashed everyone. Stuff like that kept happening until the night of the incident. front. We're all walking back from a club when we stopped at a house. It looked abandoned and my boyfriend insisted that we all go in. I said no, but he finally convinced me. And as soon as we get into the house, my boyfriend tells me that I need to run. He looked so serious that I actually ran up the stairs. Then I could feel all of them chasing me. One of them grabbed my shirt and ripped it. When I got into one of the rooms, I tried to close the door, but they opened it. Then another one grabbed my hair and pushed me up against a wall. He started trying to kiss me, but I bit him. I ran into another room and one of them was already there. He tripped me, and when I fell to the ground, he grabbed my neck. Then he started saying that I've been teasing them this whole time. Finished tearing my shirt, took it off. I was screaming at the top of my lungs at this point. Another one of the guys came in and I was able to get up and run. They chased me around the house for what seemed like an eternity, but it was probably only 30 seconds. And that's when I realized that the only person I hadn't seen was my boyfriend. And I remembered the rumors about my boyfriend having assaulted a girl. I realized that it was true, and that I was just his next victim. Only this time his friends were involved. Part 4 is up. My boyfriend and his friends trapped me in a house and assaulted me. As I'm hiding in a corner hoping that none of them find me, I hear footsteps walking towards me. I realize that this is probably where they had brought the other girl to assault her, and that they knew every corner of this house, so there was no way for me to hide. Suddenly I feel someone grab my elbow and pull me up. It was the friend that had torn my shirt and told me that I was teasing them. Immediately he pins my arms behind me and starts trying to kiss me. Then he actually said that I should be flattered because they all find me so beautiful, and that the more I fight back, the funner it is for them. Suddenly I hear my boyfriend yell stop, runs up the stairs and into the room. At this point the other 3 guys were in the room, just watching the other one kiss me. Then he said the joke is over, grabs me and takes me out of the house. That's when I turned to him and say that the rumors were true this whole time. Then he grabbed me by the shoulders, looked me in the face and said that she had wanted it, and that his friends and him were just joking around in the house. Dropped me off at my dorm, and the next morning I woke up with bruises and hickeys all over my body. I reported it to the school, but they've done nothing. My boyfriend keeps swearing that it's a joke. I blocked him, but he keeps showing up at my door. He's being sweet and even sending me groceries. I'll keep you guys updated.
Am I the asshole for telling my wife the lock on my daughter's door does not get removed until my brother-in-law and his daughters are out of our house? My brother-in-law Sammy lost his home shortly after his divorce 10 months ago. He moved in with us and brought his twin daughters Olivia and Sloan, 18, with him a couple of months ago. His sister, my wife, and I have one daughter, Zoe, 16, and she and her cousins aren't close but get along fine. Olivia and Sloan have no respect for Zoe's privacy, none. They used to walk into her room and take everything they get their hands on. Makeup, phone, accessories, clothes, school laptop, etc. Zoe complained a lot, and I've already asked the girls to respect Zoe's privacy and stop taking things. My wife and Sammy saw no issue with this. After all, they're girls and this is typical teenager girl behavior. I completely disagree. The last straw was when Zoe bought a $60 MAC makeup kit that looks like a paint set that she saved up for over a month, and one of the girls, Sloan, took it without permission and ruined it by mixing shades together while using it. Don't know much about makeup, but that's what Zoe said when she found the kit on her bed and was crying. I told my wife and she said she asked Sloan to apologize, but I got Zoe a lock after I found out she was moving valuable belongings out of the house because of this incident. The girls were extremely upset. Sammy asked about it and I straight up told him. He said, "My girls aren't thieves. It's normal that girls of the same age borrow each other's stuff." He said that Zoe could easily get another makeup kit for $15 from Walmart and shouldn't even be buying expensive adult makeup in the first place, and suggested my wife take care of this defect in Zoe's personality, trying to appear older than she is. Oh, this is where the claws come out. He accused me of being overprotective and babying Zoe with this level of enablement. I told him that this is between me and my wife, but she shamed me for putting a lock on Zoe's door for her cousins to see and preventing them from spending time with her, saying I was supposed to treat them like daughters, then demanded I remove it, but I said this lock does not get removed until her brother and his daughters are out of the house. She got mad I was implying we kicked them out and said her family will hate me for this, so I reminded her that I let Sammy and his family move in, which is something her own family refused to do, so she should start with shaming or blaming them for not taking their own son and nieces and granddaughters in. If it wasn't for her family's unwillingness to help, we wouldn't be dealing with this much disturbance at home. Everyone's been giving me and Zoe silent treatment, and my wife is very much upset over this. Go dad, good for you.
Storytime about how my boyfriend gave me sleeping pills before his boys' night out. I had been dating my boyfriend for a year and we always had a pretty trusting relationship. One weekend, he was going to have a boys' night out with his friends and I was going to stay home. However, earlier in the day, we had gone into an argument about how he never checks his phone while he's out or replies to my text to check in. He said he shouldn't have to check in with me while he's out, and I disagreed because I just want to make sure that he's okay. Fast forward to later that night when he's getting ready, I told him that even though we're fighting, I still expect him to keep in touch with me. He agrees this time without putting up a fight and asks me if I want to have a drink with him before he goes. He makes us some cocktails and we drink them together while we wait for his friends to come pick him up. When his friends get there, he kisses me goodbye and leaves. Not even half an hour later, I'm knocked out cold. I remember waking up once just for a second to use the bathroom, but then knocking out again. In the morning when I woke up, he was asleep next to me and I was really confused as to why I slept so much when I wasn't even tired. When my boyfriend woke up, he mentioned how nice it was that I hadn't messaged him and how I must have slept through the night after those cocktails. This raised some red flags and I quickly questioned him about what was in the cocktails. At first, he called me crazy and told me that he didn't do anything to them. However, after about 20 minutes of accusing him, he finally confessed. Part 2. My boyfriend gave me sleeping pills before his boys' night out. After I accused my boyfriend of messing with the cocktails, he admitted to putting a couple Benadryl in my drink. This, mixed with the alcohol, is what made me extremely sleepy and caused me to knock out for the whole night. I was furious when he said it. He clearly didn't see a problem with it and even made a joke about how he should do it more often when he doesn't want me pestering him. I freaked out at him and told him that what he did was not only wrong, but could also be a crime. I think this scared him a bit because he quickly started apologizing and promising to never do it again. Obviously, I'm not stupid and I wasn't going to stay with someone who would do that to me. I quickly called my family who came rushing over. I packed my things and my brothers kept my now ex in the other room and threatening him not to come around me. I got all my things together with my mom and my sister and left him that very day. He wouldn't stop blowing up my phone with apologies and sending sorry gifts to my work. I had to block his number and threaten him with a restraining order if he ever tried to talk to me again. I was horrified that someone would go to those lengths and I couldn't trust him after this. He even tried to get his family to text me to get back together with him, but when I told them why we broke up, they were shocked too. They apologized profusely on his behalf and told me to stay safe.
Am I wrong for telling my dad that I don't want him walking my cousin down the aisle? My 16 female, cousin 23 female, is getting married in November. She's the only daughter of my dad's brother. For some context, we don't get along at all. She bullied me while growing up, and after my uncle passed away, she tried to steal my dad. He never allowed it and made time for both of us, but to this day, my cousin still says that I was a bitch for not letting her have a parental figure, which is not true. Neither my mom or dad allowed her to mistreat me or abuse me, but there's so much a parent can do. She used to do it while they weren't watching too, and I was too afraid to tell them because I could see how important it was for my dad to have a relationship with her, so I kept quiet. While the bullying decreased and never went away, she still makes fun of me because I'm single, because I'm dumb, etc. When she got engaged, she excluded me from the bridal party, and it wouldn't matter if it wasn't for the fact that she included the rest of the family. My dad found this suspicious, and things got a lot worse with her funny comments that I'll probably attend alone and that she didn't think the bridesmaid dress would be flattering to me because of my size. She took my parents to dinner last week and asked my dad to walk her down the aisle, and I don't know what excuse he gave her, but after that, he came to my room and asked me if it would be okay for him to do this. I was honest. I said no. I told him that she made most of my life hell even before my uncle passed away, and since I was his only daughter, I thought it would be an experience between us that I knew she would ask, and I only wanted to make my feelings clear, but at the end of the day, the decision was his, and I'll accept whatever he decides because I know how important she is for him. He told me that he loved her as a daughter too, and that was it. Well, my dad told her no, and now my cousin is blaming me, telling everyone that I forced him, that I was a jealous little bee, and that if I don't fix it, then I wouldn't be welcome to her wedding. My mom and my aunt sided with her that it was a low blow from my part, and most of her family is saying that it wasn't fair. My mom called me yesterday and told me that I should have lied because this was an important moment for her. My brothers told her that if she didn't stop with the harassment, then they'll drop from the party too, and I can't help but think I caused this big mess. I'm sorry, you said you were 16, she's 23? She's 7 years older than you, and she's sounds like she's obsessed with you. She wants to live your life, you know. Am I wrong for not telling my friend's wife that he is my sperm donor? I'm a 30-year-old asexual woman who is currently 33 weeks pregnant with twin girls that I conceived through IVF. I have always wanted children, but never really considered them on the cards for me due to my sexuality, but now I'm in a position where I felt stable enough to bring a child into the world on my own, so I decided to go through IVF. My best friend since high school, 31 male, found out about my plan and how I was looking into finding a donor so it wouldn't be anonymous and I can find the medical history, etc. And he offered to be the sperm donor. At least I would know his medical history and any risk there would be attached. I agreed, but made it very clear he wouldn't have a parental role in this child's life, and at most he'd be an honorary uncle due to our friendship. He was happy to agree to this, and it never once occurred to me that he would offer this without running it by his wife first, 31 female. As some of you will likely be worried, I use an HFEA clinic, which is a legally licensed clinic, which means due to the paperwork signed when I underwent IVF, he has no legal right or obligations towards the babies, which is what both of us wanted going into this. The IVF was successful, as my pregnant state proves, a little too successful perhaps as it's twins. I recently took my friend and his wife out to dinner to thank them for doing this for me and celebrate being in the 3rd trimester, but his wife was confused when I explained the reason for the dinner and then angrily demanded to know why he kept this from her, and I was just as shocked and asked my friend if he hadn't told his wife. He tried to explain to both of us that he hadn't thought it mattered as he has no rights to the babies. His wife got even angrier at that part, stating she isn't comfortable with their son, 6 male, having siblings that aren't really his siblings, and she wants that part changed so that her husband has a legal say over the girls. I was in shock over this, but said I wouldn't be doing that as I wanted to raise them alone. The 3 of us got into a huge argument, and his wife demanded to know why I wouldn't tell her that her husband had offered this in the first place. I feel really guilty for not checking with his wife first, but it honestly never occurred to me that he wouldn't have done that first, so I thought if he was offering, she'd have to already given the okay. Am I the asshole in this? I don't know what to do. Okay, it's not your fault that you didn't consult his wife. He should have. But I think when you had that conversation initially, you should have had both of them present. That's how I would have gone about it, because everyone makes valid points here. Am I wrong for ruining my boyfriend's birthday party? My boyfriend just turned 30 and had a big party to celebrate it. I hadn't been feeling well the last couple of weeks leading up to it, but I was determined to make his birthday a great one. Due to my job and financial reasons, I haven't been able to take many days off, so I scheduled a doctor's appointment in the morning of his birthday so I could celebrate in the evening. I found out that I was pregnant during the appointment and was ecstatic. We've been trying for a baby for 6 years, and I thought this would be the perfect present for him. When I got home, there were a few people already there for the party. I asked my boyfriend if we could speak in private, and he ignored me. I asked again, and he told me that if it was so important, I could just wait 5 minutes while he talked to his friends. So I just told him. He got extremely mad and started yelling in my face about how I was trying to ruin his day. What? He got extremely mad and started yelling in my face about how I was trying to ruin his day and that today was supposed to be about him and not me. Oh, this is gonna be your baby daddy, I'm sorry. He told all of the people there to leave and messaged everybody else not to come because I ruined the day. He then stormed out the house and still hasn't come back. I'm still so shocked and confused. He was so excited to try for a baby, but his reaction made no sense. My mom says that while it was a great surprise, I probably should have waited as it was his day. So, am I the asshole?
I, 38 female, am in a weird situation with my boyfriend, 40 male, and his friend, 40 female. My boyfriend has had a very, very hard year. A few months ago, his mom got very sick. One night after work, he went out drinking with a couple of guys from work. We lived together and were in the process of packing up. Well, I was, because we were moving to a new place the following week. I was packing until close to midnight when he texted me. He said he had drank too much and just couldn't deal with getting an Uber and asked if I would pick him up 45 minutes away. Of course, I said yes. When I got to the bar, I texted him and he said he'd be out in a minute. Some girl came out and came over to the car and introduced herself to me. She said she was his very good friend. I knew her name because she'd gone to high school with him years ago, but I didn't even know that they were still in contact. And thanked me profusely for coming to pick him up because he wasn't in any shape to take an Uber. That seemed a bit odd to me because of course I'd pick him up, he's my partner. Anyway, we chatted for a minute and I apologized for my appearance, basically sweaty from packing all evening. I told her that I'd been packing for hours. She asked me if I was moving and I told her yes, we were moving to a new place next week. She seemed slightly confused, but she'd also been drinking, so I ignored that. It almost felt like she thought I was just his buddy that was kind enough to come pick him up. Meanwhile, I'm his partner. Fast forward to his mom's funeral a few weeks later. She was there and she came up to me and apologized for not being available to help him more to plan the funeral and to be his support. I told her that it was okay, no problem, but I was also thinking, huh? We didn't really need any help or support, but whatever. I thought she was just trying to be nice. A few weeks later, I noticed on Facebook that I could see him responding to someone in a thread, but I couldn't see who he was talking to. I asked him and he said that he was talking to her. I couldn't see her replies because she had blocked me. I use social media extensively for work and I know how it works, obviously. I told him that she'd blocked me. He texted her and asked her if she had, and she lied. As soon as he asked her, she unblocked me. I told him that it was very strange and he said, nah, it's obviously some glitch. Okay, whatever. Then a week later, I noticed the same thing and realized that she blocked me again. I honestly have no clue what to think about all this. It all seems very, very odd. She also mailed him a copy of an old high school yearbook. I asked him why and he said he wasn't sure, but I do realize he had to have given her his address. But also, he never even mentioned her to me previously, but meanwhile, he'd been out drinking with her. And there were guys from work there as well. Does this seem strange to anyone else? I don't want to create a thing out of nothing, especially when he's been dealing with so many issues, but I'll have to admit that it all leaves me feeling strange. I, 17, female to male, am trans and came out to my family a few months ago. All in all, everyone has been supportive, although I believe my mom was a tiny bit bummed. She said that she would always support me though. She just needs time to process all of this, which is honestly painful, but not the reason why I'm here. My mom got a tattoo with my sister's name and my dead name after I was born. It's a huge tattoo with a unique design that incorporates her and my dead name. It covers most of her arm and she's really proud of it because my older sister designed it and gifted it to her for her birthday. Obviously, constantly seeing my dead name is kind of triggering for me. Therefore, I told her that she needs to remove it. She seemed shocked and told me that she's too old for longer tattoo sessions. She hasn't gotten a tattoo in years because of that. She was also diagnosed with depression and such and uses it as an excuse for not having the energy to change it anymore. I don't really believe her, but whatever. Now she's often trying to cover it up with clothes, but I feel like it's not enough. Just acknowledge that that name is still there, it haunts me. But she refuses to change it. We had a lot of fights because of it, and she said that she's really trying to hide it, but it's part of her body that she's in love with, because there's so much history and love for her children in that tattoo. I can't really relate, because I don't have any particularly significant tattoos. Now, my birthday was a few days ago and some family came over, and the issue came up, because my cousin was showing off her new tattoo and someone asked about my dead name tattoo. My mom got uncomfortably silent and excused herself and went to the kitchen. So everyone started asking me what that was about, and I told them that I wanted her to remove the tattoo, but she doesn't want to. My sister also doesn't want her to, because she believes it would look really awful, since the entire design is attached to the names and the only way to cover it would be just to make her entire arm black. Anyway, I didn't actually plan for that reaction, but my cousin, who can relate because she's queer, for some reason got furious and went after my mom and screamed at her for being so unsupportive and accused her of being transphobic. Which I don't believe, although it was nice to see someone get angry about the tattoo, because my cousin was finally saying some things I was feeling, but I didn't want to put it into words. My mom then had a panic attack and left the house. She's now staying with my grandpa, and my dad and sister are angry at me for making some of my family gang up on her. Am I the asshole for telling my mom to remove and change the tattoo?
Am I the asshole for recording my husband?
I, 32 female, have been married to my 36 male husband for about a month. I moved to his country after the wedding, and that's where we live now. The problem is that my husband never takes my word for it or believes me about anything unless he has solid proof. For example, I'm an English teacher, and English is my first language and his second. He was writing a report the other day and asked me if the word nil was spelt like N-I-L-L or with one L. I spelt it correctly for him, and he decided that he still needed to Google it and make sure it was correct. The other day, he went out to work and came home early exhausted. He took a nap where he snored loudly before stealing the blanket. Am I the asshole for recording my husband? I was working next to him as he slept and had to get another blanket as it was cold. I thought it was funny and I told him when he woke up. He didn't believe either thing and asked me for proof. I told him I would record him so he'd finally believe me when I spoke. Every night he falls asleep before me, so I've been recording him snoring. This morning we got onto the topic of snoring, and I told him he was snoring last night, but again he didn't believe me. So I told him I had proof this time. He proceeded to get pissed off at me because I violated his privacy. He also claimed how hurtful it was and how wrong I am and how I need to see things from his perspective. Am I the asshole for not waking up my husband for work? Currently, our marriage is in the toilet, and due to financial reasons, we can't give ourselves a separation. We've been living like roommates for the past few months and have laid down rules to give us some time and space to think. We've been together over a decade, and I've always been someone who wakes up an hour or more sooner than needed. He's the type of person who will leave to the airport 20 minutes before his flight leaves. Over the years, I've been the one to wake him up since he usually sleeps through his alarms. Due to our current issues and us being more of roommates than spouses, I've stopped. I do give him a heads up when we carpool. Am I the asshole for not waking up my husband for work? On my days off, I've been trying to make sure I keep my alarms off and let him wake himself up. Over the past few months, this has resulted in him calling out of work a lot or showing up an hour or two late. I had yesterday off but forgot to turn off my alarm, so I woke up. I went back to bed 20 minutes later and nudged my husband to tell him he needed to wake up. He told me to bugger off. He ended up arriving to work 3 hours late and came home with a final write-up. He blamed me for not waking him up and also for all the write-ups, so I flipped out on him. It came down to, if you don't want to be my husband, then I'm not going to treat you like one. Am I the asshole for editing my wedding photos to remove the white top my sister-in-law was wearing? First of all, why was she wearing a white top to a wedding? I got married in June, and at my wedding, my now sister-in-law was wearing an outfit with a white top and black bottom. I didn't say anything to her at the wedding, but going through my photos with the photographer, I felt they were a bit silly. The top part of her outfit was literally the same color as my wedding dress, and in certain photos, it really made her pop out. Since they are my wedding photos, I requested the photographer to make my sister-in-law's top be grayish instead if possible. By the way, we only edited the ones where she was standing near me. When I got my finalized photos, I sent them off to my family members. My sister-in-law got upset and asked why I changed her white top. I told her she stood out too much.
Getting faster to nowhere with the time that's left. Give me something, give me nothing more. I'll get dressed. Shadows rushing. Now I should know that the one is giving up. Shadows rushing. Now I should know that the one is giving up.
Storytime about how I found my uncle sleeping with my best friend. So a little background information. I was 18 at the time and a freshman in college. My uncle was a National Guard, and we were the same age, we went to the same school, and we also had the same friends. And while he was away, I had made one friend that he didn't know about. Her and I became best friends, we got into the same college, and we were in the same dorm room together. Well, the one day my uncle came to my college to surprise me. I ran up to him, I gave him a big hug, and my best friend was super confused because I had never introduced them. And when I introduced them, there was this weird, awkward vibe. So all three of us went back to the dorm room, and I asked her if it was okay that he spent the night, because I didn't want to be that person to just invade her space. So she ended up saying yes, and eventually we all got really hungry, and we all wanted Chick-fil-A, so I went and I left them all alone in the room together. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how I found my uncle sleeping with my best friend. So like I said, I went to go get us Chick-fil-A and I left them in the dorm all alone together. While I was waiting in line, I called them to ask what they wanted and nobody answered the phone. So I was like, okay, whatever, it's fine. They're probably just busy talking. So I low-key took a long time because I went to the grocery store to get some cookies. I was just craving them. So then I get back to the dorm room. As soon as I open the door, I see both of them unclothed on top of each other on the bed, doing the nasty. So for some reason, I had a broom and I threw it at my uncle and I went to my friend's apartment that night. And when I told my mom about it, she said that it was my fault because weirdly enough, they praised all the boys in my family. Storytime about how my boyfriend found out that I was cheating on him with his best friend. So a little background information. We're gonna call my boyfriend Tyler.
Tyler and I had been dating since he was 16 and I was 13. And now it was my freshman year in high school and his senior year. And we're gonna call his best friend Jaden. Now, there was one really big problem with Tyler and I's relationship. I was pretty much dating Jaden too. Now, if you don't get what I mean by that, Jaden was there for literally every single thing that we did in our relationship. Anytime I would invite Tyler over, guess who was walking in right behind him? Jaden. Anytime that Tyler and I went on dates, guess who was there? Jaden. And there wouldn't even be another girl there. He would literally just third wheel on our dates. And I talked to Tyler about it before, and he's like, well, I don't know what you want me to do. He's my best friend. So fast forward, the one day Tyler and Jaden are both over my house, like for part 2. Part 2 about how my boyfriend found out that I was cheating on him with his best friend. So like I said, Jaden and Tyler are both at my house, and Tyler ends up getting a call. And it was his mom telling him that his brother had just passed away. So Tyler told Jaden that he needed to find a ride home, and after that, Tyler left immediately. Now me, I do not know what the hell to do, because Jaden and I had never been left alone before, and it wasn't really because Tyler didn't trust us. It was more of though we didn't really have a reason to be alone together. So that night he was supposed to wait for my parents to get home so that way they could drive him. But I ended up getting him an Uber because he said that he liked me and I did not know what to do. Fast forward, while my boyfriend is in the grieving stages, I was messing with his best friend behind his back. And the one day he had walked in on us doing spicy things. And after, he had his whole family posting things about me on Facebook saying that I was a whore and everything.
Storytime, my best friend cheated on his girlfriend with me. So a little background information. So Gavin and I had been best friends ever since we were little. We lived in the same neighborhood, and my parents and his grandparents were like pretty close, I guess. But like everybody in our neighborhood was close with each other. And I always had a huge crush on him. And I would try to like subtly tell him that I liked him. But he would always be like, ew, don't joke with me like that. Like, that's not true. And eventually, I just kind of got the hint that that was his way of telling me, I don't like you. Stop before I tell you, in a mean way. So when we were in middle school, he was always having these like 2-day relationships with all these girls and everything. And me, not so much, because sis didn't have a glow up until she reached like her sophomore year in high school. And the thing was, I wasn't that best friend who would be like, ew, don't date her, like she's ugly or anything like that. Like, I would totally respect all of his relationships, even if they were 2 days long, but he would literally still block me. Well, the one day we were hanging out at his house, like for part 2. About how my best friend cheated on his girlfriend with me. So like I said, the one night I was at his house and he was on my phone and he was asking me who all these guys were on my Snapchat. And I told him that I had been talking to them and he was just being super toxic. He was talking shit on every single one of them. So eventually I started dating this guy, Trey, and after that he texted me saying that I was gross and everything else, when the next day he literally got a girlfriend. But weirdly enough, he didn't block me that time. He actually started texting me more, saying how him and his girlfriend were so happy together, da-da-da-da-da. And unlike him, I would be supportive. Well, the one night at 2 a.m., he came over my house and he was like, I don't have feelings for my girlfriend. And I'm like, okay, then why are you with her? And then he has the nerve to say, don't you get that I like you? Like, really? Well, eventually we cut off all communication and he was still with this girl. Well, the one night he asked me to come over and talk, and we ended up doing the nasty. And then he blocked me on everything after he said we should both leave our girlfriends and boyfriends. Well, I ended up telling his girlfriend what we did, and they also come to my family cookouts.
Story time about my extremely toxic boyfriend. So when I was in high school, I was dating this boy for 3 months. We're gonna call him Nick. And my friends hated him because he was super mean to all of them, but he was super nice to me. Well, after dating for about a month, he started acting super weird. Like, he stopped paying attention to me, he didn't want to hang out with me. And I was going through a depression this time because my dad had just died.
I wasn't really doing my makeup anymore. I wouldn't do my hair anymore. And I started gaining a little bit of weight because all I would do is sleep in bed all the time, eat 24/7. Well, soon our 2 months was coming up, and he wanted to go to this party. So I literally begged him to FaceTime me, and I was asking him, oh, what should I wear? So I put on this dress that was really tight fitting, which I was already super uncomfortable about wearing because of the fact that I had a little bit of a belly now. So he picks me up, we go to this party, and I go and I start hanging out with a few of my friends. Well, one of my friends comes over and shows me something that he posted on his private story, Life for Part 2. Part 2 about my extremely toxic boyfriend. So like I said, one of my friends comes over and shows me something that he posted on his private story. It was literally a screen recording of me trying to get the dress on that was super tight fitting, and then a screenshot of my face after when I had the dress on, because obviously I was upset that it didn't fit the way it did before. And the video said, imagine having a girlfriend that was fat as hell. Ew, I have one. Then the picture of me said, ew, she's sad now, like what the fuck, go to the gym and lose some weight. On his private story, which had one of my friends, and she was super pretty, and apparently he tried getting with her. That's a whole nother story. So after that, I Ubered home from the party, and as soon as I got home, I started crying, and I told my older brother about it. So he literally drove us back to the party and beat the absolute shit out of my boyfriend. Well, someone called the cops, my brother spent a night in jail, and my boyfriend got an underage. And my brother won't talk to me now because I'm back with my boyfriend. Storytime about the girl who was absolutely obsessed with me in high school. So it was my junior year in high school, and I'm just gonna tell you guys the first story of how I knew that she was absolutely obsessed with me and wanted to be me. Well, I had been dating this guy for like a month, and I sent him nudes. Well, my nudes got spread around the school, and everybody knew they were mine until this one girl, and we're gonna call her Addie, started saying that they were hers. I guess one of my friends was talking about it in class, and they were like, OMG, did you hear that her nudes got leaked? AKA mine. And Addie was sitting at the same table, and she said, no, those are my nudes. And at first I thought this girl was just trying to be nice. I was like, oh, well, that's nice of her, you know. Like, maybe she's just trying to say that so that way nobody will bully me, I guess. Well, the one day I texted her about it, and I was like, hey, like, you don't have to do that. It's fine. I'll take responsibility for it. I did it. And she was like, what are you talking about? Those are my nudes. Like for part 2. Part 2 about the girl who was obsessed with me. So like I said, she basically told me that those were her nudes, even though I took the pictures and I knew they were mine. But I was like, okay, whatever, I'm not gonna argue with her. Well, then I get a text from my boyfriend, and he goes, what the fuck, you're so weird. Why would you send me somebody else's nudes? And I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck? And I tried to explain to him that I had no fucking clue why this girl was saying they were hers. But then he said that I was weird as fuck, and he broke up with me. So like a week later, I see them walking around school together, and my friends tell me that they're now dating. And I really wasn't that mad about it. I was like, okay, maybe that's the only way that she could think of to get a boyfriend. Well, I forgot that my Instagram was logged in on his phone, because he had super bad trust issues, and wanted to make sure I wasn't cheating on him. So I text him, and I'm like, hey, can you take my Instagram off your phone? And I saw that he read my text message, but I got no response. Well, a week later, you guys are never gonna guess what fucking happened, like for part 3. Storytime about how I broke up my best friend and his girlfriend. So it was our sophomore year in high school, and my best friend and I had known each other since we were like 8 years old. And I've always had a crush on him. Like, anytime he would get a girlfriend, I would try and break them up. And it would work. Well, our freshman year of high school, he started dating this one girl. Well, when he started dating her, he distanced himself from me because she didn't like how much time we were spending together. So a few months go by, and my birthday's coming up. And mind you, within these past few months, we only seen each other like twice. And he had me blocked on all social media. Well, our parents were really good friends because we lived in the same cul-de-sac. So my mom invited him and his parents to my birthday party. So at the end of my party, my friends left, and him and his parents stayed.
And my parents really didn't care if I drank alcohol, so we had like a whole bottle of vodka to ourselves. So we're in the basement and we're taking shots together. Well, I got him super drunk and he fell asleep. And while he was sleeping, I went on his phone and like for part 2.